Hello. If you'd like to see this picture of Callington Mill in Tasmania be converted into some sort of painting along those kind of lines there, stay tuned.
Welcome to my Watercolor channel. Thank you for stopping by. Tally ho, yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a new demo. This is a place called Callington Mill. It's in the heart of Tassie, in a little town called Oatlands. I think it's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, still operating flour mill. Maybe even in the country. Maybe the world, maybe the universe. I did all my research on a tea towel, so I'm not sure. It was really cold there that day, so I just sort of got out and took a photo. It was kind of a fairly boring composition, but it makes a nice little painting because of the shape across the guts of the buildings. Usual story, starting with Saunders Waterford rough paper. I use either that or the Arches, but Saunders is a little bit cheaper and just as good, if not a little better now that I'm used to it. But yeah, Saunders is great. Paint wise, I'm using a mixture of everything at the moment, just sort of whatever I can get my hands on. Student quality, artist quality, there's just some different things there. Holbein, for the artist quality I like to use Holbein primarily. I just find it really nice and juicy. For the student stuff, I like the Cotman. I get the Cotman from Jackson's website, the UK website that ships to me cheaper than I could ever go and buy it at a shop here. So crazy not to. Now, having said that, there's some really good Australian paint out there called Art Spectrum. Some just really good stuff. But yeah, I just the Cotman come in really nice big tubes. That's one thing I love about those Cotmans is the big tubes, rather than buying those dinky little things that cost you $1 million anyway. So it's back to the painting. So it's a fairly, benign kind of composition, but what I really like about it is just that interesting shape of the buildings across the middle ground, the main stage of the show, of the painting. Ends up being sort of really nice little shape, and it's more of a play with shadows and lots of darks and some good light coming from the sky. Sky dries off to be fairly boring, but it does its job. So back here after it's dried up, just going to start on the windmill's kind of the hardest part to get right, so I think I'll just start on this one. And this shape, it's stupid, isn't it? Like, all the things you can do, and just making something like that symmetrical is a bit of a mission. Hopefully it happens to everyone, not just me. But no, I think with the mill, I'm just trying to sort of achieve some, obviously dark, because it's all dark because they're painting into the light, so the silhouette effect is viable. I think I'll just start throwing some washes of some sepia, some burnt sienna, and some ultramarine blue. Just sort of throwing some mixtures of those around, just getting some nice mixing on the actual painting itself. Some darker tones, some lighter tones, and just throwing some different sort of values in here and there. Because what you don't want to do, excuse my voice too, by the way, I've just woken up, and it's also, struggling recovering from a throat thingy-bobby, throat infection or some rubbish. But what you sort of don't want to do is just mix your colours in the palette, paint them on as if you're colouring in with a pencil, and let them be. You want interesting effects. You want some, like the middle of that of the windmill now. Just with some with some water going over it, and just getting some effects. Mix things on the paper, put different colours in, different tones. Let them mix and see what happens. After all, we're not colouring in here. We're creating a piece of art, hopefully. So, and colouring in is just not art. It's fun and relaxing. But and I don't know how many more pictures of pretty little flowers and things I can take. But anyway, back to the subject. Just putting something in the background there. It is in the reference photo. It's just like a little distant hill or hedge or something like that. But yeah, that's all that is. Don't fuss over it. Once again, these shapes are really important to see. Like the interesting nature of the shape is kind of what makes the painting interesting. And you've got to think in terms of shapes. You can't think in terms of oh, that's a house with a roof and a chimney and a this and a that. You just got to look at it as a box, a cube. I think Joseph Spookvich said, just if you look at a bunch of buildings and all you see is windows and adornments and weird things, you're already behind. What you should be doing is seeing a tissue box, and that's really true. As soon as you can get your head around that sort of stuff, painting these masses of buildings becomes a lot easier and the results are a lot better because you're seeing it for what it is, just that massive shape and nothing flashy. So just sort of throwing some little bits of variations in the colour scheme here on the left. Just sort of experimenting. I've got the sort of main element and the main sort of vibe of it's fine, but yeah, just experimenting with sticking things on the ground. And also remember that dark line underneath the awning is really important, and these are old buildings, try not to make them dead straight. You say with the roof line, and it's just a bit funny when you see people getting the ruler out to create a building. Like I get a ruler out sometimes if I need a straight horizon line and it's a fairly close one, so you've got to be pretty accurate. But that's about it. You'll never see me with a ruler aside from that, because it just ends up being too stiff and boring looking. So same sort of stuff going on over this side. We're getting the tones right, because you've got to remember here you want sort of, even though it's all, it's not a great deal of distance and depth in the painting itself, these buildings are all pretty well on the same plane. We still want to have that, light to dark type thing going on. So and that helps just create that bit of mood and ultimately the distance that is there. Just throwing some darks. Good thing is with roofs, like old buildings like this, paint your roof. Keep it sort of whatever colour you do. It doesn't matter. Just tonally keep it probably lighter than the building, because you're talking, that's mostly in the sunlight and things. So keep that a little bit lighter, and while it's still wet, just throw your darks in underneath so it sort of the roof bleeds a little bit into the actual building itself, and it looks really nice. It always ends up looking fresh and clean that way. With these shapes, just once again throwing some paint down. These couple of things on the right hand side, those little marks I'm doing right there, I've got no idea what they were. In reality, I think it was a building of some sort. Don't know about the shape though. And we just want to vary things. Brush strokes are really important. An economy of brush strokes in particular, when you're talking about, you hear a lot of the great artists say, especially with watercolour, that if you can if you can paint what you need to paint in one stroke or less, then you're way ahead of the game. A bit of a joke there, but it's so true. Like that single brush stroke that achieves things way nicer and way better than if you're sitting there, labouring over it, colouring in back and forth over the same area, etc. So, yeah, just be really confident with your brush strokes. And that ends up being part of your signature as well, part of your, your calligraphy and your actual personality on the painting. If you want to get your own input into the painting rather than just copying the subject, those brushstrokes really develop. And hopefully one day mine will be at a point where I'm happy with. I'm not entirely happy with my calligraphy yet. I end up being a bit too, a bit too rough with it maybe. I don't know. But then again, I think you always look at your own stuff differently and with harsher eyes than others do. Now, just throwing some shadows here. Ultimately, I did forget. I went back and had a look at the reference picture after this, and I did notice that on the left-hand side there is a sort of an overhanging branch across the top of the picture, which I just didn't include. I don't know why I didn't put it in, but yeah, if I was to do it again, I would make sure we put those that little overhanging branch to give it that bit of distance, but also something casting these shadows aside from the buildings themselves. But yeah, we're talking here, this is really early morning, or it might be really late afternoon, so strong, diffused light. And with your shadows, always try to make them a little bit interesting. So make some lights and some darks and some warms and cools, and put it, just mix them together, make sure they're nice. Putting in a couple of little figures here, just for scale really, that's all. This little bloke at the back ends up being fairly obscured by the gate that goes across the middle, but that's alright. So we're just getting that's the vibe here at the moment. So at the moment this guy looks like he's walking in a halo. I do take care of that a little bit, I think. But yeah, really important as far as getting getting the feel of that scale of the buildings and things. So cool little figure just to throw in. He's just a worker carrying something somewhere. Yeah, don't know. But end up sort of going through here and putting this gate in. There's a gate, and it must be just an old original gate or something, because there's a gate that runs across the middle of the sort of the entire picture. It has if it was a normal picture, you'd leave it out, because it's just a bit of a, I don't know, just a bit of a funny one in the picture, in the composition itself, and you maybe put another couple of figures or something, and that's fine. But if we'll try to be a little bit faithful to the place itself, so I end up just throwing it in. These little adornments are just your basic windows and things like that, and I've just got a little bit of a cerulean blue in there, just in the window colours themselves, just to make it a little bit interesting. Oh, that was a bit strong, that red. I just felt these roof tops were a little weak, and just sort of glazed over them a little bit, and obviously I took a lot of that red off. That was too strong. Sort of warmed it up, like this, or some orangey sort of colour in there, and yeah, ends up being alright. I really appreciate you watching all my videos. Like I always say, I'm desperately trying to get this built up and have these videos done more regularly. I'm getting better at making them quicker. It is a production values I'm trying to get better with, and I don't want to just throw up any bog standard video. I just want to try and make sure there's a little bit of a production value in there. So they do take a bit longer, but yeah, hopefully the quality is getting there for you guys. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you watching and sharing. Please, if you like anything, just click on that share button on YouTube and whack it on Instagram. Oh no, whack it on Twitter. Whack it on your Facebook. Share it to whatever art pages you like on Facebook. Things like that. Google Plus, whatever you're involved in. That'd be great if you could help build this little pirate ship, for want of a better word. Help build this little thing up. Really appreciate it. Now that gate I just threw in there, you can see what I mean. It sort of, to me, it detracts from a little bit from the composition, but yeah, like I say, I was just trying to be a little faithful, and it's interesting. It is what's there. So I'm just going to let that dry off and just head into the last section, which is pulling it all together and just mucking around with some different colours and some different, clean water, getting some light patches off, things like that. So just start mucking around with that kind of thing. Some dark, dry, brushy sort of windows here and there. Just a little bit more detail than what is already there. Now, you see on the building on the right hand side where there's just those little white patches that I've left here and there. That's really important. I mean, there's nothing there. It's just that little white patches, but it gives you that impression of windows and an activity and light hitting something over there as well. So remember just to be mindful of your brush strokes and your dry brush strokes. So keep some whites there. Now I'm just throwing some clean water over certain patches of the painting and sort of scrubbing them out just to give us a bit of interest and a few sort of light leaks and things here and there. And it ends up doing its job, which is good. And I think it's easy to get carried away with it, but it really does make a difference. I think it's just that subtlety and moves your eyes around the picture a bit more, makes it dance a little bit. Just working on some highlights here. So obviously we're talking the edges of the buildings. Once again, this is that Holbein Yuan brilliant colour. So it's pretty much white with a bit of burnt sienna or something like that in it, and it's really nice for highlights when you don't want that stark white. You want some sort of warmth in the colour in the highlight. So just starting to splash a few things around. This is sort of getting toward the end of the process. Just making some interesting marks and trying not to destroy the good stuff that's there, of course. But I always really like splashing it around. It's watercolour. That's what makes it great fun. And you can end up spraying some water, splashing it, splash some actual pigment in there, whatever you want to do. The old birds, there's the good old gel pen coming into its own there, so that's always good. And just with your birds as well, try not, in all seriousness, try not to make them like little, like too little, like almost like a McDonald's golden arches, and please resist the urge to do that to your birds. Now, just sprayed off, and I think that's sort of to the end of the painting we're coming up, and we're going to go to that one there. End up just throwing in a couple of little red embellishments, just a couple of dots here and there, just to break it up, add a bit of interest, and ended up being alright. I ended up liking the shape, and the execution was pretty good on this one. Hope you like it as well, and please check out my new videos when they come through. Cheers guys, bye bye.